Hello students, in this video I am going to do the revision of periodic table. Okay, the revision of periodic table will be done in the question answer pattern. So that will be easier for you to know that what type of questions can come from this chapter. Okay, so let's start. You will get the study material along with this video where you will get all the questions along with those answers. But still I am going to explain the answers to you. Okay, so your first question is, what are periodic properties? So the properties which appear at regular intervals in the periodic table are called periodic properties. Okay. Your next question is, this is a direct question, so it is there in the book also. Your next question is, why neon has a larger atomic size than fluorine? So, neon has a larger atomic size because all the noble gases you can see have a complete valence shell configuration. Means helium has 2 valence electrons and the other noble gases, neon, argon, all the other noble gases have 8 valence electrons. So their outermost shell or the valence shell is completely filled. So because of the completely filled valence shells, there is electron-electron repulsion among the electrons, or you can say that a force of repulsion exists between the electrons. This electron-electron repulsion increases the atomic size of the noble gases. So neon has a larger atomic size than fluorine, although we have known that in the periodic table, as we move from left to right across a period, the atomic size decreases. But still neon, which is just right to fluorine, has a larger atomic size than fluorine, only because of its completely filled electronic configuration, having all the 8 electrons, causing electron-electron repulsion. Because of this force of repulsion which exists in neon, the atomic size of neon is greater than that of fluorine. Okay. Your next question is, differentiate between ionization potential and electron affinity. So ionization potential, electron affinity. Differentiate means you have to write in the column form. Ionization potential is the amount of energy required to remove an electron from the outermost shell of an isolated gaseous atom. Means this is the amount of energy which is required to remove an electron from the outermost shell of an isolated gaseous atom. Amount of energy required to remove an electron. And what is electron affinity? This is the amount of energy released when an atom in the gaseous state accepts an electron to form an anion. So this is the amount of energy released to remove an electron, required to remove an electron, and electron affinity is the amount of energy released by an atom in the gaseous state in order to accept an electron to form an anion. Release, this is energy required to remove an electron, energy released to accept an electron. Your next question is, name the most electronegative element in the periodic table. The most electronegative element in the periodic table is fluorine. And why? Because fluorine has the smallest size. Fluorine has the smallest size, and because it has the smallest size, it can easily take up electrons. Because nucleus has greater attraction on the electrons. Smallest size causes a greater nuclear attraction on the electrons. Therefore, fluorine can easily take up electrons. Also, you can say that the nuclear charge in fluorine increases its tendency to accept electrons. We know that as we move from left to right across a period, the nuclear charge increases. So, the greater nuclear charge on fluorine increases its tendency to accept electrons. Your next question is, why electron affinity of chlorine is greater than that of fluorine? This I have explained to you in the previous online Google Meet class also, that fluorine has a smaller size with 2 shells, whereas chlorine has three shells. Because chlorine has 3 shells, it has a greater size as compared to fluorine. Fluorine has a compact size, or you can say the size of fluorine is compact, whereas the size of chlorine is bigger. Because of the compact size of fluorine, there is already electron-electron repulsion existing. Already electron-electron repulsion existing between the electrons which are already present. So, addition of another electron is quite difficult for fluorine. But in case of chlorine, the size is bigger with 3 shells. So, electron-electron repulsion is much less. Electron-electron repulsion is much less in case of fluorine. So, it can easily take up electron. So, the electron affinity, although we know that down the group the electron affinity increases, but chlorine, which is after fluorine in the same group, has greater electron affinity than fluorine because of the bigger size which can easily accept electrons. Okay, your next question is, differentiate between light metals and heavy metals. Excuse me. Differentiate between light metals and heavy metals. So, what are light metals? The elements in the periodic table basically which have the neutron to proton ratio. Neutron to proton ratio around 1. They are known as light metals. Then what are heavy metals? Heavy metals are basically the radioactive elements. They have a neutron to proton ratio greater than equal to 1.5. Next, you can say another thing about light metals, that light metals are stable, whereas the heavy metals, which are basically the radioactive metals, they have a heavy nucleus. Therefore, they are unstable. They can easily undergo radioactive fission and fusion. Nuclear fission and fusion reactions take place in these metals. Now the third differentiation can be the examples. The light metals are sodium, potassium, and the heavy metals are uranium, polonium. Okay. Your next question is how the nature of hydroxides and oxyacids vary across a period. Across a period, the hydroxides vary from strongly basic to amphoteric. And the oxyacids vary from weak to strong. Okay, these are directly there in your book only. Your next question is why are alkali metals good reducing agents? Okay, alkali metals, let me give you an example first. Lithium, sodium, potassium. See, all the alkali metals then have one electron in the outermost shell. Okay, all the alkali metals have one electron in the outermost shell. So what they will want to do, in order to get the stable octet configuration, they will easily lose one electron. So while forming new compounds, what will they do? They will easily give this electron. So since they are providing electrons to other elements or compounds, they are good reducing agents. Reducing agents means reducing agents are those substances which will provide electrons. So they are having one electron in the outermost shell. In order to get stable octet configuration, they will lose this electron. Therefore, they can act as good reducing agents. Okay. Your next question is why the noble gases have lowest electron affinity. This is very easy. The noble gases have a stable electronic configuration. The noble gases have stable electronic configuration. Since the noble gases have stable electronic configuration, they will not at all want to accept an electron in order to become unstable. They will always want to remain in their stability. So they won't accept electron because they are having a stable electronic configuration. So since they are not willing to accept electron, so they are having less values of electron affinity. And the last question is a very important question. Please note this question properly. These are the conceptual questions from this chapter. See, look at your study material. You are provided with a portion of the periodic table. See, in this type of questions, the elements which are having the symbol of a single letter, they will be represented by those elements only. Like in this table, I have given O. Here O means oxygen only. Here O means oxygen only. Okay. Okay. Now in this table, it is given you have to among A, D, J, and E. You have to identify that which one is metal, which one is non-metal, which one is metalloid, and which one is a noble gas. So A, look at A. A is in period 2. Sorry, A is in period 2 as well as group 2. So since A is in group 2, it will have 2 valence electrons. If a substance if an element has 2 valence electrons, what will it do? It will easily want to lose 2 of its electrons. So if it loses 2 of its electrons, then it will become an electropositive element. And who becomes electropositive element, or who readily loses electrons? Generally a metal. So A is a metal. Now look at J. J is in group 17, 7A. Group 17, 7A means it has 7 valence electrons. So since J has 7 valence electrons, it will easily want to gain 1 electron to attain stable electronic configuration. And if it gains 1 electron, it will become electronegative in nature. Who wants to gain electron to become electronegative? Generally a non-metal. So J is a non-metal. Look at E. This is easy. E is in group 18. You all know that group 18 elements are noble gases. So E is a noble gas. And left, what is left? Left is D. D is present in group 13. D is present in group 13. Now in group 13 D is present, it is having 3 valence electrons. So if it is having 3 valence electrons, then it can easily lose 3 of its electrons to become electropositive in nature. But D is basically you can say a hybrid between a metal and a metalloid. In this periodic table, D is in period 2. Generally, in period 2, the position of D, and in period 3, the position of silicon. Look at those. They are bridged elements. The position of D and the position of silicon in period 3. Period 2, period 3. See, those are basically bridge elements, or they are having a diagonal relationship, which means that silicon is a metalloid, which means that they are having certain properties which are equal, which are those of a metalloid as well as a metal. But in this case here, since we are just giving showing the name of the elements by different alphabetical letters, we don't know what element that is, or we cannot identify the element with the name, with the actual property of the element. So since D is having 3 valence electrons here, we will say D is a metal only. But if the position of D here is that of boron. Boron has properties of metalloids as well. Okay. Your next question is, what is the formula of the compound formed between H and K? Look at H. H is in group 2. H is in group 2, which means it has 2 valence electrons. 2 valence electrons. So it will easily lose 2 of its electrons to form H2 plus. So the valency of H is 2 plus. Now look at K. K is having 7 valence electrons. So it will easily gain 1 electron to form K minus. So the valency of K is 1 minus here. here actually. H 2 plus K 1 minus. This will give you H K2. Okay, so the formula of the compound will be HK2. What type of bonding occurs between H2 plus and HK2? It is electrovalent bonding. Electrovalent bonding. Your next question is, which is the most electronegative element? Which is the most electronegative element? Here the most electronegativity increases across a period and decreases down a group. We all know that noble gases do not have high electronegativity. Why? Because they have stable electronic configuration. They will not easily accept electrons. So leaving the noble gases, you have to look at the other groups. That is leaving groups 18. Across a period, the electronegativity increases and down the group decreases. So the most electronegative element is J. Okay. Which noble gases follows the duplet rule? Helium. State the formula of the compound formed between G and oxygen. Look at G. G is in period 3 and group 1. So it has, group 1 means 1 valence electron. So it will easily lose 1 electron to form G1 plus. And oxygen, you know, oxide. So G1 plus and O2 minus will give you G2O. Okay, these are more or less about the periodic table or the complete revision of the chapter, and these are the types of or varieties of questions which can come in your boards also from this chapter. Thank you.